Hey, I'll talk to you a little about some calls, maybe when to use them, give you a little better idea what time of year to use maybe certain calls. I myself, I don't really like to use calls very much. I have experimented a little bit, but I'm not crazy about relying on a call. I'm more worried about my focus on my setup. But I thought we might go over a few of the things I've learned about calls. What times of year they seem to be most effective for me anyway, even though I don't rely on them a lot. All right, I'm talking about my general area. I'm in Ohio, so you'll hear me say things like pre-rut, rut, post-rut, and even second rut. Those are pretty much the seasons that where I'm at that fall through my bow season. So that's kind of what I'm going to go through. When I say pre-rut, I'm going to mean October 1st through November 3rd. When I say rut, I'm going to say rut November 4th through the 27th. Post-rut, I'm going to say right there 27th range to December the 7th. And then I'm going to say second rut, December 8th through the month of December. So I'm going to say those dates. They're not going to be in concrete. That's just going to give you the heads up of what I'm kind of generalizing here. So with the calls, we'll go with the contact call. The one that they're just saying, the does are saying, hey, I'm over here, locate me. We're looking at two or three pipes on that. All these calls, we're not looking for more of a consistency than about 20-30 minutes or so apart. I use the contact call on the end of the pre-rut, beginning of rut, and I'll use it a little bit at the beginning of post-rut and a little bit at the beginning of the second rut. So, and then I go on to the doe grunt. The doe grunt, she's saying come here, basically. So I'll use that, a soft 1 to 3 times there, right at the end of the pre-rut, beginning of rut, and beginning of post-rut, just a little bit. So then I go on to the buck grunt now. The buck grunt, you got to be careful with using the buck grunt. You don't want to seem like a 7-year-old monster out there ready to kick everyone in the rear end. Whenever your area is only holding maybe 2-year-old deer. So be careful with how you use it, and at least know what kind of bucks are in your area. The deeper, the older, So the buck grunt, I'll use it maybe once, sometimes twice, but most of the time I'll just use it once, a nice little soft buck grunt. And I normally only use that in the early pre-rut stages. So, the bleat, the old girl saying, here I am. So I'll use that maybe 1 to 3 times there. Nice medium, sound there. Right at the end of the pre-rut, beginning of the rut, beginning of post-rut, and I'll use it right around the beginning of the second rut as well. The estrus, that's her saying I'm getting ready. That's another, 1 to 3 times there. A nice medium. I'll use that about the same as the bleat. Beginning of rut, beginning of post-rut, and beginning of second rut. So when we're looking towards the more on the buck side here, tending, he's trailing that doe. He ain't got her to stop yet for him. We're looking at 6 to 12, maybe 15 good rapid bumps there. As he's walking, that sounds puffing, So we're looking at beginning of rut, beginning of post-rut just a little bit. Try to maybe piss someone off at the end, So looking at that buck ball, it sounds like a calf out there raising all kinds of hell. He's lonely, basically. Before it's early pre-rut stages is when I use that. You're looking at once. Maybe twice every so often, but most of the time just once. And then you have some sparring, fun time play. It can last anywhere from a couple seconds to a couple minutes. If they're really having fun. With that, I'll use maybe some soft grunts to throw in there. Not nothing real retarded. And then there's the, I'm the king, the aggressive rattle, which is always a lot of fun. But you gotta be careful with that stuff. The deer are going to pay attention to that, and when they pay attention to something, they could easily circle you. So that's with calling it anyway. You always make sure you have good scent control too. So I'll use that aggressive rattling, end of pre-rut, beginning of rut, through beginning of post-rut there a little bit. So those are the times of the year that I'll use these kind of calls. Like I said, I'm not real big into the calls. I'd rather go out there and find my location, be as quiet and as scent free as I can, and use the element of surprise on my behalf. But if I'm going to use a call, those are the calls I'll use, and pretty much the times of the season that I will use them.